What's up, everyone? Today I'm starting a new series where I break down the money and business behind the most popular U.S. professional sports leagues. We're going to start with the NFL today, but we'll cover all of the leagues, and we'll talk about how much money they're making today, what the future might look like, and some potential challenges they may face along the way. I want to give a special shout out to U.S. Bank for sponsoring this episode. Go to usbank.com/altitudego to learn more about how you can earn 20,000 bonus points worth $200 if you spend $1,000 in the first 90 days of opening your account. All right, let's get right into it. If I had to pick one word to describe the NFL, it would be juggernaut. In 2022, the Super Bowl had more than 115 million viewers, and NFL games represented 82 of the top 100 most watched U.S. TV broadcasts, including 19 of the top 20. Furthermore, the NFL generated nearly $20 billion in revenue last year. That's more than the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, and League One combined. And the NFL also recently inked new media rights deals collectively worth $110 billion over 10 years. The NFL's future seems pretty bright, too. Commissioner Roger Goodell has signed another extension, bringing his career earnings to over $700 million. The NFL is also adding another international game in Brazil, doubling their annual commitment from 4 international games to 8 starting in 2024. And with the NFL making more money than ever before, the average NFL franchise has climbed to a $5.14 billion valuation. That's significantly higher than the NBA, MLB, NHL, and MLS. But still, just because the NFL is dominating right now doesn't mean they will dominate forever. Several signs of trouble are on the horizon, mainly the decline in youth participation. And past performance doesn't guarantee future success. But let's start with a little bit of a story. In 2014, billionaire Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban was talking to a group of reporters when he famously claimed that the NFL was on the verge of destruction. He said, "Just watch. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. When you try to take it too far, people turn the other way. I'm telling you, when you've got a good thing and you get greedy, it always turns on you. That's rule number 1 of business. I'm just telling you, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, and they're getting hoggy." Now, Mark Cuban's comments were mostly in response to the idea that the NFL was oversaturating its audience with an expanded TV schedule and off-season coverage. But just a decade later, Mark Cuban was certainly wrong. The NFL has risen far above all other major U.S. sports leagues and really every other sports league globally. Now, sure, they may not have the most viewers. I mean, FIFA says 1.5 billion people watched the 2022 World Cup final. But the U.S. is the world's largest economy, and the NFL has turned this audience into a money-printing machine. For example, the NFL brings in about $19 billion in annual revenue. They'll probably hit $20 billion this year. That's significantly more than the NBA, MLB, NHL, and of course, MLS. Most of this money comes from an 11-year, $110 billion media rights package with companies like CBS, NBC, Fox, ESPN, and Amazon. And the rest of the money comes from smaller categories like merchandise, licensing deals, ticket sales, concessions, and sponsors. Don't forget that YouTube TV is also paying $2 billion annually for the exclusive rights to NFL Sunday Ticket, and individual franchises are benefiting from the league's success too. Let me give you an example. NFL teams sold 18.8 million tickets last year. That came out to an average of nearly 70,000 fans per game. And not a single team averaged less than 93% capacity at home games this season. Each NFL team also received a $374 million national distribution check from the NFL, an 8% increase year over year. And NFL valuations increased nearly 25% year over year. Now, I don't want to go through all 32 teams in the NFL, but if you just look at the top 5, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Rams, the Patriots, and the 49ers, these valuations have skyrocketed over the years, and they're climbing by about 20% year over year. Some of these teams are now worth $6 billion, $7 billion, and even $9 billion for the Dallas Cowboys. And even on the low end, if you look at teams like the Jaguars and the Bengals, they're still worth $4 billion and climb nearly 40% year over year. Add in the NFL's newly expanded international schedule, with recent games in London, Germany, and Mexico, and an upcoming game in Brazil, and business is booming for the league. But while so many things seem to be going right for the NFL, there are some problems. Now, we could talk about officiating and we could talk about gambling, but I think the biggest problem the NFL faces right now is the decline in youth participation. We all know football is a dangerous game. The average NFL tackle is similar to a car crash at 30 miles per hour, and a recent brain study from Boston University found that 345 out of 376 former NFL players, 92% that they studied, had CTE upon death. Now, the reason why this is so shocking at 92% is because less than 1% of the average population dies with CTE. Now, the NFL has avoided this problem for a very long time. In fact, The NFL previously denied any connection between repeated head impact from football and long-term brain damage. But the evidence has become overwhelming, and the NFL ended up paying a $1 billion settlement to thousands of former players with health-related issues in 2013. But money can't solve everything. Many parents have become aware of the issue, and we have now seen a massive decrease in youth tackle football participation. For example, participation in tackle football for children 6 to 12 has dropped by about 30% since 2016. And high school tackle football participation is down 12% from a 2008-2009 peak. And last year was the first year on record where fewer than 1 million players participated in 11-player high school football since the turn of the century. Now, the NFL has also done a lot of things to try to slow this down. That includes working with manufacturers to design new helmets. They place head injury spotters in the press box of every NFL game. They also put doctors and neurotrauma specialists directly on the sideline. They've intensified penalties for players who lower their helmet when tackling, and they've mandated the use of guardian caps during most practices throughout training camp and the season. Still, the NFL's best defense might be their multi-million-dollar investment in flag football. Flag football not only helps grow the sport internationally. You got to remember, the NFL successfully lobbied to include flag football in the 2028 Olympics. But flag football also gets kids interested in football at a young age and delays tackle football until they get to high school. That makes the youth participation number slightly deceiving. Fewer kids are playing tackle football, but many of them have just switched to flag football at a younger age. Instead, another problem that I think is not often as discussed as it should be is the quality of play in the NFL. Troy Aikman told me last year that his number one concern about the long-term growth of the NFL is a decline in the quality of play. The former Cowboys quarterback thinks NFL owners are unwilling to give players a bigger slice of the financial pie, so players request less practice time, ultimately impacting quality.
In an attempt to increase revenue, and when we've had CBA negotiations between the owners and the players, what's come of that is that the owners have continued to get their share of the pie, and the players, when they haven't gotten what they've wanted on the financial side of it, they've negotiated less time practicing, less time at the facility. And I'm a believer that if you're going to be good at anything, you got to put in the time. So if we continue to have less time practicing, then it only stands to reason that the football is not going to be played at the same level.
And Troy Aikman isn't the only one. Tom Brady echoed similar beliefs last month.
I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. Yeah. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Now, some of this certainly has to do with the large number of quarterback injuries this year. I don't want to discount that. But the NFL has spent years implementing rules to protect players and increase offensive scoring. Yet total scoring across the NFL is at its lowest level in over a decade. This probably doesn't feel like a real problem to most people, but it's important to remember that there are now more football games than ever before. I mean, just think about it. We have Thursday night football. We have 3 windows on Sunday. We have international games. We have Monday night football. We have Thanksgiving Day. We have Black Friday. We have Christmas Eve. We have Christmas Day, and the list goes on and on and on. And continuously putting bad football games in prime time could lead to a long-term decline in viewership.